Hi everyone, we're going to give it a few seconds to let everyone flow in and then we'll begin. Hello and welcome to our Restaurant Rapid Recovery webinar. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars are recorded and sent to all attendees after the webinar has concluded, along with a copy of the slides. There will be Q&A at the end of the presentation today, but please feel free to ask questions during the webinar by clicking on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. I may not get to everyone's question, but we will do our best. If we do not get to your questions, please call 800-616-7232. I will also put this number in the chat box. Over to you, Greg.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Greg Bell. I'm here with Bill Waldo, Mark Elliott, Steve Gostin, Jay Alice, and our newest member to the team, Tom Bruce. Tom, you're coming to us from Capitola, California, part of the Merced program.
Yes.
You're the founder of Central Coast Food and Beverage. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Our goal is last time, and if you missed our last week's performance, be sure you look for the recording in your email box. Our goal through this whole program is to make restaurateurs and their customers feel comfortable and safe to recapture the trust in the dining experience. Hopefully through these conversations and questions, we can help you make a plan to go in that direction. Please understand, we're only making recommendations, offering resources, not solutions. Our panel of SBDC consultants wants to help you develop a plan that fits your ideas and goals. We're not discussing funding, federal, state, county, or city rules or policies on reopening. Once again, we have found many different ideas. The one we're leading with today is that you have 3 different types of customers that are returning to your operation. You have the first responders, which will be the ambitious and ready. They're anxious, knocking down the doors, trying to get in and enjoy your atmosphere. They've missed you and they're ready to come back, whether they're previous clients or new returning clients. The second generation is an aware but optimistic group. They understand the dangers of COVID-19, but they are also willing to go out and experiment with returning to dine-in seating. The last group is a cautiously waiting group. They're very aware of all of the COVID-19 complications, and they're waiting to see what happens with your first 2 groups of people. And if they hear back from them and decide they want to go, that is when you will win over their trust. Let's see. We have many resources for you here at the SBDC. We are the first one. We have a reopening guide. We have the Center for Disease Control Contacts and the National Restaurant Association, as well as the state has guidelines out for reopening your dining experience. Today we want to talk about 2 topics. The menu evolution. Obviously, with the change of your operation, many changes are going to affect your menu and the way you deliver it, from all different kinds of operational packaging and that kind of stuff, to we strongly believe you need to look at recosting. Last week, we talked about projections and understanding what your costs were going to be and your new costs were going to be, and what you're going to have to do at operating at 30, 50, or even 25% of your normal sales pre-COVID. So menu re-examination is one of the things we want to discuss this morning. And then we also want to talk about rehire or not to rehire. The process of bringing your employees back in, the employees that do not choose to come back, and how we can affect those. So let's talk about the menu revision. Gentlemen, feel free to chime in when you have any ideas. Through increasing profits by lowering food costs, your lowered sales are more profitable. Therefore, you can bring up your profits just in having 50% of your sales. So as an example, does anybody have an example of taking your food cost and lowering it by changing a dish or looking at your ingredients or the way you're packaging it, bundling it? I've of course thought of all recipes, changing things. Of course, you don't want to lose your branding of your item. If you have the Big Wave burger, you don't want to change anything in that Big Wave burger that makes it not the Big Wave, of course, but you want to be able to sell it at a better profitable price. Now, everybody says, well, I'm just going to raise the prices because of COVID. That's something you can do, and that's something that we can see, but the better way of customer service is coming back to their prices, but you have bundled it in a different way to simplify your menu, and now you have the Big Wave combo that throws in fries at a $2 bump price. Does anybody else have any other ideas?
If you would like to share your idea, please raise your hand in the participants box and I will unmute you so you can speak.
Perhaps one of you has gone over their menu already in their productions, but in this revision process, I've gone through so many different things. Looking at packaging was huge. I see many of the programs now only using disposable packaging. There's tamper evidence disposable to go containers now that were brought on because of the third-party delivery systems. I thought that was amazing that we could have that kind of a product appear so quickly. But when you're looking at the costs, what is it going to be the impact of your store? Your paper goods are probably going to go up at least 15%. If you start using all disposable items and going back to your menus and that kind of stuff, you're going to have definite increase in costs. So lowering your food costs, lowering your menu costs is very important. But I also want to talk about simplifying your ingredients on your inventory. You may have supply chain issues with products. You may have different needs for your store because of the to-go and the curbside delivery option. I think that when you're looking at this menu revision, you're also looking at the operation of the menu. And in that, I think that you should simplify your menu, making it very easy to understand it, reducing the amount of items offered, those more expensive items, seasonal items, or low supply, hard to get items, might be things you want to leave off of your menu. I think that if you eliminate those modifiers on the menu ordering screen, you'll do a lot better with getting your orders packed and delivered correctly rather than saying, oh, I know I wanted this, done differently, or I need it packed, or I ordered the salad instead of the fries. Bundling specials, promotional terms that get people to return, I think are also very interesting ideas to help people understand your menu and look forward to coming back and building those reward points or building that reward back up with you.
Greg, we have a person who raised their hand.
Okay.
Oh, they just lowered it, so I don't know if they still want to speak. Randy, if you still want to speak,
Randy,
I'll unmute you right now, but just please note that once you're unmuted, there will be no use of profanity or soliciting allowed. And if you do say anything inappropriate, you will be removed from the webinar. Here we go. Randy, you can unmute yourself to speak now.
Thank you. I lowered my hand because I want to hear more of the process. I understand you said lowering the food. I mean, how can you increase profits? And quickly, I mean, one of the ways, of course, with the menu is cross-sell or upsell opportunities depending on how the menu is designed so that the server knows how to suggest other food items, because a restaurant doesn't want to just sell one item. They want to group.
Absolutely.
And so
excellent suggestion.
That also, in reducing, being more profitable, has to do also with lowering the what do you call that, credit card processing fees. Restaurants pay a lot yearly on credit card processing fees because they're currently at 2.9% plus 30 cents per transactions. At the low end, some diners still pay probably 30 to 40,000 a year. Other restaurants in, let's say, on Santa Monica area over in Venice, they're paying over 100,000 a year in credit card processing. So those type of things. If you guys have resources for lowering that, that would be great. But let me lower my hand so I can listen more, and then I'll ask questions again. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate those contributions. Absolutely. Merchant charges are very expensive, processing fees and that kind of thing. And now we're looking at a cashless economy where they want to lower the contact of touch and only take credit cards, where you can insert the credit card, not even enter a PIN and pull it out, which is going to increase the amount of chargebacks and fraudulent charges. Hopefully not, but without having that PIN verification, the restaurant itself is taking a risk at a chargeback because they don't have a signature or a PIN authorization. So
he brings up a good point, and I think it's one worth exploring, to have restaurateurs contact some of their credit card companies to see if, in fact, that is negotiable, given the situation that we're all dealing with. I think that would be a really smart move to see if that could be one way of reducing costs. And I think it's an excellent point.
All right, we have another person who has an example they'd like to share. Her name is Bina. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm going to allow you to talk now. Please remember the guidelines that I said earlier.
Hi, Bina. Hi, Bina.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. So, as you know, Greg, we are for the most part, we're overseen by the franchisor. And so they've allowed us to reduce handles and flavor handles, which we did. We reduced it to, machines. So we reduced it to 5 machines. But given June 1st, we're like, okay, let's increase it to 6 machines. So we've done that. However, there are fruit toppings and certain toppings that are just necessary. Kiwi is getting ridiculously overpriced. Strawberries are still okay, blueberries, but there are certain toppings that provide the complete experience of buying our product. Other than, right now I buy from, like Costco or Sam's Club. Are there other places, maybe direct, that we can purchase these toppings at a lower price?
There are. I researched a little bit of this, but I think that in the sense of these toppings that are required by your franchisor, I think you need to take a look at the portioning of those toppings. Now, when you're charging by the ounce for those toppings, that's what actually elevates your price. So in the instance of reviewing your topping selection, I understand the fruit component of it for sure, but I would eliminate some of the lighter weight products in an effort to get some of the heavier weight products to instantly add an ounce rather than only adding a quarter an ounce or a couple grams.
Right. Okay.
The fruit purchase angles are things you just need to negotiate. And I don't know if you can do that in volume that has a long-term freezer life, that you can do a pull thaw as needed. So you can purchase in volume and hold your product so that you need that. I'm not sure how they would view that from the franchisor's view.
Yeah, like there are certain chocolate toppings that we can obviously store refrigerated for a longer period of time. So yeah, that's totally doable. What about fruit? Fruit is really where, and we're, this stays here, but obviously we're cutting the fruit pieces a little larger to increase the weight.
Have you used frozen fruit in place of fresh fruit? Is that allowed?
We did. You remember we did the frozen strawberries, but people complained. And even when you look at it visually, once they started to defrost, they just didn't look appealing, because the cold topping bar can keep it cold, but can't keep it frozen.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
I would look at other products that you might be able to substitute during this early reduction, early reopening phase. I'd hope your customers would understand as to what it is. When we talked earlier about the costing of the product and looking at each cost, can you identify those that are the highest on the grid that may need to be eliminated until you rebuild your sales back up, or will the franchisor make you keep those items?
Well, I can get the generic version of it, which I have been doing. So I'd have to just go back and go through that Excel sheet that we put together, and see which ones are the heavier ones. Obviously, we try to keep, our per ounce cost, we try to keep it at like 15 cents,
Right.
not more than 20, even though corporate allows for like 20, 25.
Yeah.
But we try to keep it at 15. So I could just go back to that list and see which other ones that I can control, and buy the generic of that product.
I would suggest you look at a variety of alternate products that could fill into that position. Also putting those new items to the test of pricing and see if they fit into the grid. And then you can present those to corporate and say, we would like to use this as a substitute.
Yeah.
You can even use it as a test market and see how it does. And then you'll have better results to show corporate that we are, for instance, we're using a frozen strawberry slurry with no sugar added in place of fresh strawberries. And we've been able to keep that within our range of food cost of 15 to 18 cents per ounce, which we document to the corporate what you're trying to do as far as being profitable, which is very important when we're reopening.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, can I chime in?
Sure.
Real quick. This kind of goes back to something Randy talked about too. I think a lot of owners need to start doing their due diligence and start shopping around. There are distributors out there that are working with different restaurants and restaurateurs. They're lowering their minimums. They're working with them on finding products. They're also working with them on helping redesign and reconstruct menus. So if, for example, you're with Cisco or US Foods, they have people that will help you reconstruct your menu. So don't think that you're in this alone, but there are options out there. Randy had mentioned something as well. And Randy, the answer to the first part of your statement.
You muted, Steve.
Well, how'd that happen?
We didn't want to miss anything.
Hannah. Okay, sorry about that.
It was not me.
Just kidding. Randy talked about being able to upsell, things like that. And a lot of this goes back to training. It's very important you train your team. If you want them to do something and it involves your menu and sales, you've got to educate them.
Another thing, if I could chime in, is in terms of the specific of your toppings, I don't know if you're beholden to only getting fresh fruit, and if you are, that's a bit of an issue. However, on that note, there are, like Steve was just saying, you've got your Cisco and you've got your US Foods. They are very global and comprehensive and carry everything. And a lot of people go with them simply because they don't want to have to deal with a bunch of other purveyors. But there are very specific ones. There's fruit and vegetable ones, there's fish ones, there's meat ones. So if you want to shop around, you certainly can. And that is a good thing to do, especially if, I don't know what your business is. It kind of sounds like a yogurt or some sort of thing. If you're only getting specific items, you might want to look at a specialty purveyor. Alternatively speaking, if you don't necessarily have to go with fresh stuff, you can consider fruit compotes, which can come in a can. There are some pretty good ones, some of which are sugar-free and some of which are not, or, chopped fruit in syrup or in, some sort of medium. So those are two other things to consider, at least in the short term.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and Bina, you mentioned 2 locations where you're doing the shopping. So a lot of people don't realize your time is very valuable. During this critical time, going somewhere and shopping is not something you should be doing. I think you should be focused on building and growing. But if you're going to go shopping, think about farmers markets. Farmers markets have been very popular throughout the pandemic. They have stayed open and they've really been able to bring in a lot of fresh items that are a lot less costly than even Costco.
Okay. I
agree with that, Bina. I would rather have your excellent customer service at the front door talking to people and welcoming them rather than having them miss you because you're out at Costco picking up strawberries.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes it a very
Okay.
expensive strawberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Costco is a great resource. I was there yesterday and spent a ton on personal, but they're not the lowest price out there when it comes to commercial use.
Not anymore. You know, Restaurant Depot, I'm not a big fan of, but they've been very, since they've opened up to the public, they've improved things, but there's a lot of vendors out there, especially produce, that will work with you on your minimum because they recognize what's happening, because they're doing the same thing that you are. They're trying to build a relationship and they're trying to plan for the future.
Okay. Is there a list of specialty purveyors that you mentioned?
I think
'Cause
between
right now-
all of us, we can come up with, I mean,
Oh,
I'm not sure where you're located, but I mean, Guardia Brothers is one of the largest, and I know they're working with their clients right now.
Okay. Because currently our DC or our distributor is Saladino's, and I've run the cost on it, and it's just far too expensive, and they're not willing to reduce the cost.
This is the time to shop around then. You've got to
Yeah.
find distributors, purveyors that will work with you, because again, they're doing the same thing you are. I mean, Greg knows this as well as I do. Cisco's laid off people, furloughed people.
Sure have.
The large companies have furloughed people. So now that they're starting to reopen and get going, they're trying to build relationships and bring customers back as well. Use this to your advantage.
Okay.
There's, to Steve's point, if I can jump in, there's dozens and dozens of produce type distributors. He mentioned Engardia Brothers. I think they've been in business for about 40 plus years. High quality, great produce company. There's many of them out there that are looking for opportunities. I think, as was just stated, it would be wise to shop around. I think you'd be very pleased with the end result. There are some other opportunities where I think you can get what you want and not have to pay a fortune for it.
Okay.
And in terms of the regular menu for the regular restaurants, I think it's important for most restaurateurs to think about how you can limit some of the items on your menu that are not big sellers, that are just taking more time for you to create, and to try to limit the things that are not selling, and keep the things that are selling, and try to limit the amount of proteins that you have on your menu, and more that you can use one protein for more than one item. I think it's very important to use one for 2 or 3 or 4 items instead of having one that's just used for one particular item on the menu.
Good point.
I think on an overall scale, I think everybody that's been in the restaurant business for any amount of time realizes there are price fluctuations. There's the butterfly effect. There's a drought in India, which causes beef shortages here in the States. And some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't make sense, but there's always going to be fluctuations. I think right now, however, based on a lot of them being COVID-19 related and like at meat processing plants, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So ultimately it comes down to, do you want to adjust your menu in order to remove certain items that have just skyrocketed, or potentially alter your menu instead of doing fresh fruit, doing compote, because strawberry picking is a high manual labor type thing as well, in which case there isn't a labor force to do it. So I think right now there's a lot of leeway. I don't know about franchises in particular and how hardcore they are with enforcing exactly what they want, but outside of that, the ability to adjust your menu now, at least in the short term, is a good opportunity.
That's why we have to do this before we open, so we know where we're positioned and what we're going to do. So thank you, everyone. Does anybody else have any further questions on this topic or any examples that they would like to present?
No, we don't have anything further.
Okay. Let's take a moment. I don't want to go too long on this. I want to get to questions and answers. Let's see to advance my screen. There we go. So we've heard in the past couple weeks that people have been having problems with their employees returning. There was issues with unemployment benefits being greater than the hourly position you were offering. I think it's important to remember that unemployment period is limited. It's only going to go forward a little while, and your employees need to make a decision if they're going to self-quit or if they're going to come back and learn your new program. More importantly, behind all of that, HR is the documentation that you keep regarding their acceptance of rehire or their acceptance of letting go. You'll need to have documentation, whether that be an email or something that's printable and can be put into their folder. You'll be receiving EDD questionnaires and documentation on each person receiving unemployment that you'll be required to return. Just because they're not there doesn't mean you can't answer those statements and keep the department informed. I would get a procedure in place for those returning employees. Almost a system of events is what I'd like to reference, where you are sending out an email asking them to return with specific dates, times, and expected scheduling. So you're asking them for their schedule availability, you're asking them for their return, and you're telling them what day you're going to start having people back. And probably the first day you're going to have people back is for training, I would hope. Before the restaurant is even open, you can use those employees for cleaning, reorganizing, distancing tables, rearranging the kitchen, ordering things in that you need differently for your new system. You're going to have to train all of your employees how to respond to this new mode of operation. So it's very key that they go through the system, both rehire, training, certification, and they sign off on their training, that they know what the mask and glove protocol is, they know what sanitation expectations are, and they know what they're getting into. This is all very important.
Let me just
your paperwork with your employees.
Greg, sorry, I just want to interject one
Please.
simple thing about this point that you're making about bringing the employees back. I think it's there's a lot of resources out there that you can use as a restaurateur, the templates that are written already for this thing, that all you have to do is just copy it and send it to your employee after you fill it in. Also, the documentation process is also out there for you to send. You don't have to recreate these documents. They're already out there for you to use. There's HR companies that are really, really cheap to get involved with, help write a manual that has all these new forms in it for you as well. One in particular that comes to mind is called thinkhr.com/COVID-19/, and that's a very good resource for templates for you to use when you're bringing your employees back and issues that you might be having with bringing your employees back. So it makes it easier for you. You don't have to sit down and write a letter and whatever. It's already done for you. All you have to do is just enter the employees' names and whatever the schedule and whatever the incentives you're going to give them to come back.
I do like that link. Hannah, can we get that in the chat so people can see that link? And you want to repeat that one more time, Mark?
Yes, thinkhr.com/COVID-19/. And I think they have videos of all the templates. They take about 2 minutes long, and it goes through every range. And I think they will actually write your manual for you for like $25 if you don't have a manual. I think it's very important that you consider writing one.
You need an updated manual, that's for sure.
As you've got a lot of new checklists that you need to do now with protocols and guidelines that have been given to you. I think it's very important that you have all these things in line while you're bringing your employees back. They understand this is the new system now, and we're going to have to give you checklists. We're going to have to check your temperatures possibly if you're coming in every day. There's a lot of things you're going to have to sign off on, and that's important that your employees sign off on all these things you're requiring them to do. So
yep.
This is a good resource for you to do it.
They're valuable employees. They've worked for you in the past. They know your menu. They know some of the customers. They know their favorites in the restaurant, that kind of thing. But they're going to have to come back in and see your new branding and your new operation and learn what you're doing. It's going to be so different than what they were doing before. And so if they can come back and be the ambassador of your brand, you definitely want that person back. And I thank you, Mark. I almost forgot about that. Thank HR. That was a great resource. Altogether, it's building a plan, building an understanding for your employees, and your protection of your employees too. Them wearing masks, them sanitizing, them being temperature checked in to work, and even temperature checked out from work, whatever it takes. But recording evidence, recording the activity of your employees, limiting the time of exposure is another thing too. If they're working shorter shifts and you have higher turnover because you have enough employees to do that, do that. Spread the wealth. Looking at your employee costs is another thing too. Can you support a full staff that you usually had on 50% of sales? I doubt it. We'd also like to mention the Workforce Resources, which is a county-run program. You can look up in Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, or whichever county you're in. If you look for Workforce Resources, they have programs to help you hire new hires and even help you with training costs. So people can look out for those kind of ideas as well. I think some HR companies even will steer you in that direction too. So just want to make sure that people were aware of that. I've gone way over my time. I don't think I have anything else on my list.
Greg, is
Yes.
there any kind of a link for the Workforce Resources Guide that we have?
I will put it out. There is one for Orange County. I don't have it with me, but I will put it out with the email.
It also gets sent out to everyone when the PowerPoint goes out.
Perfect.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay, perfect. I will get those together, Bill. We'll make sure that all three of the counties are represented for
I think
that.
that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Tom, if you want to indicate one for up in Central California, that'd be great. We'll include it as well. So let's move on. I want to mention the PPPs again for your employees. This is going to be an added expense that you will need to supply in their job. And that would be something that you need to plan for in purchasing. Once again, all the suppliers, the main suppliers, are trying to bring on lines of masks, gloves, face shields, all kinds of things for their PPEs line. Shopping around again for these items and being prepared for reasonable pricing would be something you want to learn. I was in a store the other day that was selling masks by the case, and when you divided it out, it was $3.50 a mask. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? How many cases have you sold of this? And he's like, we just sold one an hour ago. Of course you did. So looking for those things and being aware of those things is what you need. I brought this up again. This is another one of our mantras we want to talk about is who's in charge? Who is the person in charge of the shift? Who is the go-to person that is greeting, verifying, and welcoming your guests in with some kind of qualifiers? If you choose to temp your guests, what is that person going to say when their temperature is 100? Let me take that again. Let me just verify this real quick. I don't know. I've thought about this endlessly. How would I take a person and step them aside and continue on? But you need an ambassador of your brand that is hopefully modeled to your employees and then modeled to your client, your customer. I can't tell you how many perceived qualifications I've seen in the last week, just looking at what people are doing, that whether they're doing it correctly or not, as far as actually sterilizing something, they're presenting a procedure that makes me feel safer, makes me trust them more.
And Greg, can I just add to that one quick point?
Please.
I think that taking temperatures of your guests as they arrive is up to your choice as a restaurant owner. However, if you're going to do that, I think it's very wise for you to communicate that through your website, letting them know what plans are in place for you to come back to their place and having it posted as well, so there's no surprises when you get there, knowing you're going to get tested, So you might as well stay at home if you have a temperature or whatever their temperature is that they're requesting you to not have.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
It should also be noted that they can, in fact, take the temperature of their employees when they come on duty, which I think is an excellent practice.
I think that is almost strongly encouraged.
And I think it has to be everybody. It can't just be a few. It has to be everybody, and it has to be the same format of testing for each individual one by usually the same person or persons, and noted what their temperature is and same checkpoint guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we discuss the whole concept of your plan of action, not just for employees returning, but obviously we're shifting into guests coming in as well. You need to have a plan of action for your kitchen, for your bar, for your wait staff, for your hostess staff, and break it down per section. Who's going to, and make it kind of, for lack of a better phrase, idiot proof, so that it is directly spelled out where the hand sanitizer is going to be, where is this going to be, who's doing this, every 30 minutes this surface is going to get wiped down, bang, 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 per station. That way your staff is understanding when they go to a certain station, this is what the procedure is, and then you've got a manager in charge who is controlling all of that. In terms of Raj, she had two questions about checking temperatures. You have the right of refusal as a business owner for anybody coming into your establishment. So it's not really a question of will you be able to, it's whether or not you want to. Your entrance policy is your entrance policy. And to Mark's point, yes, you can definitely put it on your website, but if you're like me, I don't check a website before I necessarily go out to eat. I just decide to go. So when you get there, it's a good thing, like we've all been discussing behind the scenes, is an ambassador, somebody who is out front controlling entrance to your place and letting clients that come to your door know what the entrance procedure is, and having a manager train that person, if it isn't a manager, as well as controlling everything else that's going on in the restaurant. So
I was talking to my restaurant buddy out in Denver, and he said it's really kind of funny because the shirt and shoes required sign is now replaced with a thermometer. And I laughed with Steve and I said, yeah, but now we're still not gonna require pants. And he said, no, I'll add that to my sign. But he's been in nightclubs most of his life and worked with a bunch of big restaurant operations. And he said, it's just that we're just changing. It's not the bouncer and the satin cord waiting to get into the club. It's a nice guy checking to make sure you're safe, we're safe, come on in and have dinner. And I said, yeah. He said, it's simplifying it down, not making it so enforced, but making it more visibly controlled.
Right.
One other thing, Raj had another question about sample guidelines. One of the reasons we really haven't touched specifically on that is because every location's guideline is going to change. You've got the state, you've got the federal, you've got CDC suggestions, you've got NRA suggestions, but what it's really going to come down to is your city and or county ordinances. Mm-hmm. So your best bet is to take a look at those, and if you choose to post them, by all means do so.
Absolutely. I got to backtrack a little bit. I forgot one thing about revision of your menu. I know the presentation of your menu is key. I think you should rethink that and go to multiple viewing screens that people can perhaps see your menu outside, whether it's on a monitor or it's printed clearly with large font that can be read at a distance. Another reason to reduce the number of offerings on your menu so that you can get quickly review of what the menu is and that kind of thing. As far as using touchless apps for ordering, we can talk about that at another time. But I think that while you're looking at your menu costing, you look at your menu presentation in the same way. Maybe you do need to get pictures of your food. So that's something you can work on. All right. I think we're up to our question and answer period. I'm sorry we've gone a little bit longer, but I've appreciated everybody's input. Thank you, gentlemen. If there is something people would like to talk about right now or ask their question or give us a brief example, I'd like to open it up to that, Hannah, if we could.
Yes, so I have one question. saying, we may not be able to check temperatures or health conditions of our guests. How can we ensure that our staff and other guests are not at risk?
I think we answered that.
You may not be able to take temperatures?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the question that I was answering.
Yeah,
Really.
I think
it goes back to doing all you can.
Okay.
You know?
We do have 2 people with their hands up. I'm going to allow them to speak. Just remember that when I unmute you, there will be no use of profanity or soliciting allowed. If you do say anything inappropriate, you will be removed from the webinar immediately. So Tim, I'm going to allow you to speak now. Tim?
Just unmute yourself, Tim.
Okay, I guess we'll come back to him. I'm going to disable it. And then we have Randy again. So
Randy again? Randy, you're back.
Yeah, Randy's back. Go ahead, Randy.
Hi guys, thank you. I just want to make a point about the temperature thing, which I think is important. But one point we haven't covered is contact tracing. If we look at other states like Texas and even Washington, a mandate was given that they had to record the diner's information prior to reopening. And the reason contact tracing, in my opinion, is so important isn't just because of COVID-19. I'm in Long Beach, and in downtown Long Beach in December, just last year, we had a very well-known steakhouse had a hepatitis outbreak. And so they had to go public with that information. If you remember a couple of years ago, a fast food casual place had the E. coli episode. And both of those companies, as well as the restaurants going forward, really don't want to go public with that information, but we have an obligation to notify those guests if a guest comes in that's positive with COVID, or if an employee is positive. And so I think that goes to the heart of the issue, which is diners not only want to be safe, they want to see safe. So they want to be able to see policies and practices like the temperature taking and things that are happening to make them feel comfortable. Just like you talked earlier about the employees or the staff coming back, one thing we have to talk about is intentional table touch. When the server comes to the table, we're used to the server coming to our table asking us, hey, are you ready to order? Are you ready to order? Coming back a few times, because we're not ready. But in going forward, I think the new abnormal will be that some diners might be offended by that. They want the person to come to the table with a very intentional period of, I'm ready now, don't come back until the food comes. And finally, going back to the menu, I just want to talk on that menu part. I don't recall if it was last year or 2018, but Burger King and KFC did a study on their kiosks. And what was interesting about that is that they found that the covers on digital menus were typically 25% higher than a regular cover that when the customer comes to the counter. Not saying that restaurants have to use a kiosk, but the idea behind this is that the diner that's looking at a digital menu, if it's done well, will automatically by themselves do upsell or cross-sell opportunities. And that's a huge thing. When you talk about increasing sales by lowering food costs, I just don't see that happening because the food, you've got people that are very specific as far as how to make the food taste good. So we have to look at other methods, and that would be upselling or cross-selling. So I just wanted to add that.
No, thank you. I agree completely with you. Upsell is amazing. And if I see a digital picture, I always fall victim to those fried zucchini spears every time. So
touching on the contactless ordering, I know that a lot of the major chains that came out with those kiosks that required you to touch because they thought that was the new thing. Well, there is now new sources out there that are able to change their kiosks to make them contactless by using your phone. I just read about that this morning. So that's out there now.
Yeah.
So if you have invested in kiosks for your business, there is a way for you to use it with contactless now without you having to touch the screen.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is doing a discrete contact tracing ability, somewhere where we're not being too intrusive to the diner, and some way that we can ensure to the diner that their personal information is being respected, that it won't be marketed or touched later by the restaurant or some other third party, but at least the information is kept track of for health concerns. I mean, that would make, I know that would make me feel good if I'm notified later that the employee was sick, and so I should be tested now.
Yeah, that's a bit of a slippery slope, because on one side it comes across as doing the right thing, and then you start getting into rights of privacy, et cetera, et cetera. And I guarantee you that there ultimately is going to be litigation on this in the future. It's a slippery slope. You have the right, if you want to say, I need your name, your phone number, and your email, as well as your temperature in order to come in. That is up to you, and you can limit your access based on that. But I understand the pros, but just remember that there's going to be cons out there as well. So it's a touchy subject.
Well, the way I would suggest a discrete contact tracing would be through the wait list with texting. And, you're taking the diner's information through a text to notify them when their table is available. That's also available when somehow recording, who those diners were at that specific time.
Right. And that's a good way to do it. But just bear in mind, you're also going to have those people that just decide to stand there and not give you their phone number, and their whole right to privacy is going to be huge on them. So
you're right. And there will be those for sure. Good point.
I just want to also stress, this is all unprecedented. Randy, you brought up about E. coli, you brought up about other things, but nothing affected our world, business, the economy that COVID has done. And I think we're going to, as we start reopening and we get things going again, there's going to be umpteen changes coming, new ideas, new concepts. Things are going to continually change, and we have to adapt. We have to be open-minded and ready to adapt.
Understood. Thank you.
And I think that also when we're looking about that, we talk about projections for the year. And I had to snap back and say, no, I'm looking for projections by the week. I just want to know what I'm going to do in the next 4 weeks, not 12 weeks, 4 weeks. What am I going to do in the first 2 weeks? How am I going to be affected? I'm going to open for 2 weeks and lose $1,500? How is that going to work? How am I going to know that I'm going to recover on that? So absolutely, Steve, this is a completely unprecedented program coming up, and it's going to change day by day. We've seen that, we know that. It's going to be different from today as it was next week, as it will be next month. We have no idea where it's going. We're only trying to plan so we're prepared.
Yeah, and we normally are planning how many weeks or months in advance, right? And we're looking at our P&Ls, we're looking at our projections and our COGS, and it's not like that anymore. Nope. I mean, something else could happen, and all of a sudden businesses are closed again. Mm-hmm. So day by day.
We don't know, but that's what we're trying to get you guys to think about it and organize it and plan it. Randy, I really appreciate your comments in all those different areas we need to think about. That's the exact kind of discussion we're trying to develop to get it out there and see what other restaurateurs are thinking and what they're going up against, and see if we can help with ideas or directional information.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to move on to the next question because we're running a little bit out of time. So Brad asks, what is your thoughts on guest Wi-Fi as a tool to solve the menu and data gathering for marketing and more? So people could sign into the guest Wi-Fi to get the menu and rewards and other information.
I think that's an excellent area you need to think about. We've talked about this before, guys. I'm not a techie guy, believe me. I let my kids take care of the Wi-Fi in our house, but there would be need for increased Wi-Fi, as I would perceive it, in the restaurant, so you could have numerous people on your app ordering and doing that and paying. So yeah, I think that increase in Wi-Fi is important. I don't know if you do that with remote routers or other things that help. I heard a person say the other day that they were trying to figure out ways of putting in phone charging ports outside on their patio. for people that they're trying to order, but their phone's dying. It's like my daughter's phone. It's never charged more than 20%.
All right, our next question is, could you provide some guidance on business interruption loss of income loss preventions with insurance carriers? Most claims are denied as insurance claims if pandemic does not qualify as a reason for business interruption.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Everybody has a comment.
yeah. I'll just say quickly. Regardless of whether you think that your big insurance company is going to deny you or not, I would still put in a claim and just leave it at that, because you don't know what's going to happen down in the future. Somebody may come in, may file a lawsuit, class action lawsuit against that insurance companies. There's a lot of things that can happen, and it doesn't really cost you anything to file a claim. But you don't know, you will be denied. Definitely.
Good advice. I like that. Yeah.
Yep. We'll leave it at that. You should ask. You should file.
Yeah, ultimately, if you don't file a claim and something happens down the road and they file a class action lawsuit, if you didn't file a claim in the first place and got denied, it's not going to help you in the future.
Right. You apparently didn't have business interruption because you didn't apply.
During reopening, do you suggest to have a time limit in dining, like a 2-hour limit? What can we do if the guest makes a reservation and does not show up?
There's
Guest reservation doesn't show up. That happens to me all the time.
typically, isn't there a time limit on how long they hold the reservation? Right now, the people I've talked, they're going to hold it for 15 minutes max.
I think they're talking about after that, though. What happens after if they don't show up?
Right.
I mean,
Unfortunately, it's hard for you to enforce somebody that doesn't show up on a reservation. You can try to put a dollar amount on, say, it costs you $25 if you don't show up or whatever, but you're going to end up giving that $25 back to them because they're all pissed off. So it's better for you not to even worry about that and just play it off of, hey, I'm going to have 10% people not show for the reservations. And it's better to overbook a little bit than to have to go down that road of having to make somebody unhappy, unfortunately.
that's where open table comes handy.
Yes. That's just what I'm
Them
going to
handle
say.
it.
If you're using an app or something that can remind your customer that you can increase communication as to what is going on, and you're late or you're running behind, and then I just see your ambassador being able to step in and say, welcome. We're sorry you're late. We hope you're okay. We're working to get you a table as quickly as possible. This is our waiting area. This is what we're offering. Here's a paper menu. There's our menus for this. Whatever you can do to welcome them back in and squeeze them back into the line. See how you can do.
Yeah, and putting a time limit on people in the restaurant, that's a very hard thing to do. You don't want to be the guy that they come up to you and say, hey, you really need to leave now because your time is up.
Yeah.
That just doesn't play very well. And if you want a return customer, that's not one thing you want to say to them. It's better to approach them with your ambassador or manager or whoever it is and just say, let me buy you a drink in the bar because we have people that we need to get into the restaurant. Give them another option instead of just trying to kick them out.
They need to leave the restaurant with a smile on their face.
Yep.
Right.
And it was their decision to leave.
They're going to tell everybody they know that you kicked them out of their restaurant.
And do not send a waiter by the table to cough. Don't do that.
We've all had table campers. I do table campers all the time in all my different restaurants. And I think that my parents are one of the worst ones there. They see their friends from out of town and they go for a 5-hour lunch. But, I love it, Mark. Giving them a redirect, a suggestion, that kind of thing.
It happens at Christmas time, especially when everybody wants to bring their gifts.
Of course.
Let's just open a gift. We already got the check. We already got this. Now we're going to start opening off 15 gifts.
I think there will be a little
bit. Go
over
here and open them.
I think there will be a little bit of urgency from your customer as well, too. Mark, I want to bring up your comments about your shop that you said that curbside pickup was good, but that now that you have the patio that people can take curbside to the patio, you want to talk about that just briefly?
Yeah, I think this is a possibility for a lot of businesses. If you have any kind of outside dining that you don't, we're starting to open our restaurant this Thursday, so we haven't opened yet inside. But we have patio spaces that we are being able to use for curbside pickup, so people don't have to go home and have it, they can have it and make sure it's hot right there. They go and they get the pickup. We have a bar set up out there in the bar patio area. And so they can get their drinks. They can buy a bottle of wine, whatever. We do use disposable cups for drinks. And then they can take their curbside food and go there and eat and then drink whatever. So that's kind of a way for us being able to use what we have. I know other restaurants have been able to use parking spots that are in front of their restaurant to put tables out there. And that's another thing you can talk to your landlord about. If you can use 4 parking spaces that are out there and put some tables there, umbrellas or whatever, so people have a spot to go and sit and eat their food from curbside if you're not open inside yet. I mean, some restaurants have chosen not to open yet. They're waiting and seeing, which is not a bad thing, to see how this all plays out. But use anything and everything you can to get people to use that curbside, because it's going to be around for a little while.
Yep.
Mark, to your point, LA just launched a concept called Al Fresco, where a number of the cities or the city is approving multiple parking spaces in front of many restaurants for them to put tables outside.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be excellent. I think it ties into what you're saying. It's also a solution to the 50% maximum capacity, where now you can start putting people out in the patio. And I think that's going to become very popular. I would encourage anybody to talk to their landlords and city people to see if there's opportunities for you to open up some of the spaces out in front of your restaurant.
Indeed.
But,
Yeah, I think that, I'm sorry, I think that if we're going to do that, I think a main point of order would be to make sure that they're ordering and paying before they sit down outside. It's basically like a takeout, like Mark is saying.
Yeah.
They're ordering, they're picking it up, and then they're just going sitting at these community tables out front. So you don't have the whole liability of somebody dining and dashing kind of thing.
Yeah, and you still have to have somebody to come out and clean the tables up after they leave. So you still have to monitor it somewhat too. So.
Yep. And the space has to be suitable too. I mean, it has to be level, has to be clean. You know, you can't just be sitting in a parking lot full of weeds and grease and oil and dirt and trees and that kind of stuff. It's got to be condoning to your brand. I know the city wants to open it up, and we've heard from several that want to help with that. So, you know, stay tuned. We'll see how we can do with that. Thanks, Mark. Do we have any more questions, Hannah?
No, more of a statement. Rancho Cucamonga is allowing parking spaces for outdoor dining. And that's what we have.
Good. Very good. Well,
Excellent.
I think we're up on our time. And if there's anything else anybody wants to say last minute, we'll wind up and look forward to next Tuesday.
I just want to make sure to point out to everyone that the restaurant reopening guide that was written by Jay, one of our panelists here, is in our Dropbox. I recommend reading it. It's really very good if you have any questions. Also has lots of resources for you. So I recommend looking it over. If you have any questions, you can always let us know. We can go over it with you.
Yes, this will be provided to you along with the recording of this webinar, last week's recording, and the slides from this week and last week. You can continue to view previous and upcoming webinars with the same link. And the resource guide would be provided every week. If you had any questions that you didn't want to ask out loud or want private answers to, please call 800-616-7232. It's also in the chat box, and we'll connect you with one of these lovely consultants who can assist you. Or you can go to our website, which is ociesmallbusiness.org, which is also in the chat box. We look forward to seeing all of you next week when we talk about, well, I guess you have to wait and see.
Talk about going forward, right? Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Till next time.
Be safe.